You're stuck at home in quarantine. 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Hey everybody, happy Quarantiki Tuesday! Excited to be here with you. Hope you are doing well on this Quarantiki Tuesday. I'm super excited. The other day I received in the mail this new shirt that I ordered, and I know it'll be reversed for you, but it says, "This is my happy face," and has an awesome tiki guy on it. My new tiki t-shirt. Super excited about it. I love it. And excited to be sporting it this evening as I make a tiki classic, the Zombie. But before we get to that, my daily accounting of my day. Pretty typical day. I started out in the morning, my typical way, had some coffee, did the crossword puzzle, did a little bit of work. I did, actually, the one thing that happened today was I took a trip to the grocery store. And, I've been going sort of every either 10 or 11 days on a TikTok cycle, basically Tuesday, and then that'll last me until the following Friday, and then I'll go 10 days or 11 days later on Tuesday, like that. And so today was my day to go to the store, and for the first time in months, I was able to just walk right in. I didn't know what was going on. There was no line. I don't know if it's because I went like a little bit later in the day than I have in the past. Normally I go kind of around 11:30 a.m. and this time it was like 1. I wouldn't think that would be a huge difference, but I was shocked. There was no line to get in. There was no line for Instacart people. And they still had all of the mechanisms for making a line outside. They had all of it roped off and the markers for keeping your distance when you're in line, but it was an amazing thing. And so I allotted 2.5 hours to go to the grocery store and was in and out and back in under an hour, which was awesome. They also changed the checkout registers. They used to have one long line that they then feed you to the different places, and now they're just back to their normal checkout lanes, and with the clear places where they want you to stand when you're waiting in line. So I don't know if there's less busy and they don't need to, or if they've relaxed a little bit and are letting slightly more people in, or what, but or if it was just the time of day. But like I said, it was nice to be able to just saunter right into the store. This was also the first time in the last 3 months where I was able to get everything on my list. They weren't out of anything. There were no weird shortages. The meat section looked normal. And so overall, very successful day. So loved that. Did that midday. Then I had back-to-back meeting, Zoom calls and meetings and whatnot. So finished up the day with a lot of work, but all in all, a pretty good day, and I'm excited to make it even better by making the Tiki Classic. This is the classic of all Tiki drinks, the Zombie. And if you ask somebody, hey, name a Tiki drink, they'll probably say Mai Tai, okay. But the Zombie is definitely the most sort of notorious of the Tiki drinks. It's in Smuggler's Cove, it's one of the 8 essential elixirs, as per Martin Kate, the author of the book. And it is I believe the 6th one that I'll be making this quarantine at this time. That's my 5 o'clock cocktail. 6th of the 8 essential elixirs. And it's a great drink. It's actually similar to another drink that I've also made, the Jet Pilot, with just some slightly different proportions and slightly different sweeteners, but it has this general idea of your classic lime juice base, a lot of different rums, and then sweetening it up with some falernum and some syrups. And so we're going to be using this is a classic tiki cocktail from Don the Beachcomber, the original Tiki Man. And all of the classic drinks and really all of Tiki lineage comes back to, as I've talked about before, the 2 guys. Don the Beachcomber, who was the original guy that opened up his bar right after Prohibition ended at the end of 1933, and then Trader Vic, who was so impressed by Don the Beachcomber's bar that he offered him a chance to go into business together and open a bunch of bars. Don said, "No thanks, I'm all set." and then Trader Vic went up and opened and was super successful, opening a ton of tiki bars. And so the two of them, Don the Beachcomber and Trader Vic, are really responsible for all of the old school tiki from the 1930s to the 1950s. And this is a classic recipe that goes back to 1934. And if you talk to people about their zombies as they're making their zombies, they might refer to different recipes over time. Like, like any cocktail recipe, it's evolved over time. So we're going to be making, what's pretty close to the original 1934 recipe, but you might say something like, oh, I made a 1945 recipe, or oh, I made the 1951 recipe, or oh, I went really modern, I'm making the 1970 recipe, like a crazy person. And later on, they did like the 1970, I think, has Cointreau and some sweet vermouth. There's some like weird stuff that happens in them. But I'm excited today to really stay back at the classic formulation of the 1934 Don the Beachcomber recipe. And there's sort of two stories behind where this came from. So on his menu, on Don the Beachcomber's menu in 1941, we have these like copies of these menus where they have a description of this drink, and it says that Don went through many, many different formulations and different bottles of rum, and like took a really long time and months to really develop this perfect zombie recipe. So that's one possibility. There's also this this story about a weary traveler who came into his bar one day and said, I'm a little hungover, I have to go to this meeting, give me something to make it through. And Don, took down a bunch of his stuff and whipped it all around and came up with this drink and served him this drink. And later on, the guy comes back and he says, oh, I don't know what that was, but it made me feel like the living dead. It made a zombie out of me. And that's where it got its name, underneath the lore of this story. That's probably unlikely that actually happened. Who says that? It made a zombie out of me. Seems weird. But either way, this is one of the more notorious of the tiki drinks. And in fact, they would often on menus entice people to order it by putting a limit on them. So they would say, maximum 2 zombies per person, and then they'd put after it, for your own safety. So there's a little bit of mystery, a little bit of allure in ordering this drink, and it's a punchy drink. It'll smack you down if you drink too many of these, because it can be really strong. We're going to be putting 4 ounces of rum in our zombies this evening. So again, one of the more notorious, famous tiki drinks in history. And the other interesting thing about the recipe is it's one of these classic tiki drinks that has like a million different things that don't seem like they would all blend and come together really well. But what Don taught us is that if we are really intentional about how we're mixing our rums and finding the right sweeteners for the right job and getting the right proportion of our fruit juices, then we can really hit something beautiful like this. The other thing that's interesting about the history of the zombie, and especially this 1934 recipe, is like a lot of tiki drinks, and like Don the Beachcomber especially, there's a history of just being really secretive about your recipes. And so, there's a lot of stories about Trader Vic going into Don the Beachcomber's bar and, kind of like eyeing and watching the bartender, taking notes. But apparently they also, and this is a tradition to this day in tiki bars, there will be some ingredients where even the bartender doesn't know exactly the formulation about what goes into it. It's just grab bottle number 2 and put in a couple dashes of that, or put in 2 ounces of bottle number 3. And so Beach Bum Berry, after he has done a ton of research at resurrecting these old cocktails and a ton of history, really finally came across he found this recipe, and it called for Don Spice number 4. And through a lot of research and going through all of these different primary source documents that they were able to cobble together back from the bar, realized that this was really the key to the zombie, this Don Spices number 4, which seems to be at least approximated by cinnamon syrup. So we're going to be using cinnamon syrup as one of our ingredients here, formerly known as Don Spices number 4. and I'm excited to make it now. The last thing I'll say about the zombie before I make the drinks is that there is also a classic zombie glass. Particular piece of glassware that directly goes with the zombie, and I don't have this glassware, right? So I'm going to be serving it in just these nice, tall, clear, sort of like Collins glasses, I call them, because I don't have a zombie glass. But if you're not familiar, a zombie glass would be basically just kind of like more square and come like straight up at the bottom. It doesn't have this taper on either side, and it's just like a nice, tall, it's cylindrical. I don't mean to say it's square, but I mean not a non-tapered right angle at the bottom in this dimension that goes straight up and forms a zombie glass. Sometimes it might have the the tiki might say zombie on it, and I think that's acceptable, but even just the classic zombie glass that's a blank slate is a beautiful thing. So I'm going to be using these. I think it's the closest thing that I have. I think it'll be delicious and wonderful. Helen expressed a desire to share in this delight, so I'm going to be making 2 of these. And so let's get to it. We're going to start with our lime juice. Our lime juice and our grapefruit juice. And we're going to be using for each drink 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice and 1/4 of an ounce of grapefruit juice. So I am going to juice straight into my jigger so I have less to clean up. And I find 1 lime will give me about an ounce. So that's 3/4 there. So for 1.5 ounces, I'm going to be using about 1.5 limes. This one's maybe not quite as juicy. Was able to restock my lemons and limes today at the store, so don't you worry about that. Beautiful. Alright, so those are my limes, and now I'm gonna do just 1/4 of an ounce in each drink of my grapefruit juice. There. What always happens to me when I press grapefruit juice is it doesn't want to come out the holes at the bottom. It all collects on the top. I don't know why that is. Maybe I should do the reverse. Let's try that. Nope. I think that it's so pulpy that it clogs up the little holes at the bottom of my juicer. It's like a real thick pulp. All right. Perfecto. So we've got 3/4 of an ounce of our lime juice, 1/4 of our ounce of our grapefruit juice. Now we're going to do our cinnamon syrup. We're going to use 1/4 of an ounce each of cinnamon syrup. Oh yeah, nice and cinnamony. Made this about 2 weeks ago. This is going to bring sweetness, and then that secret cinnamon spice, which was the secret ingredient for many years of this recipe. We're also going to be using a teaspoon of grenadine. This is my homemade grenadine that I made last week. And a teaspoon is 1/3 of a tablespoon, and a tablespoon is 1/2 ounce. So a teaspoon is 1/3 of 1/2 ounce, which is going to be a little bit 1/3 of 1/2 ounce, which is going to be 1/6 ounce, which is going to be a little bit less than 1/4 ounce. You like that math? Very nice. And the last sweetener I'm going to use is my John T. Taylor's Velvet Falernum liqueur. Remember, this is that beautiful liqueur from Barbados that's made from limes and cloves and ginger and almonds. And we're going to use 1/2 ounce of this. in each of our drinks. Now I'm going to be using 3 different rums in this drink for a total of 4 ounces of rum. So I'm going to be using just a lightly aged white rum. This is a Flor de Caña. I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of that. I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of my slightly longer aged plantation rum, and then I'm going to really come in hard with 1 ounce of my overproof black rum. This is a Jamaican rum from Gosling's. So like I said, 1.5 ounces, and then 1 ounce of the overproof. 1.5 ounces. 1.5 ounces. 1.5 ounces. Ounce and a half. Not totally certain Helen knows what she got herself into when she signed up for one of these, but it'll be a fun night one way or another. 1 ounce of the overproof black rum. And then our final ingredient is going to be 2 dashes of Herbstura, which is a 50-50 mix of Herb Saint and Angostura. And actually my personal brand of Herbstura is actually Abseared, which instead of Herb Saint is absinthe, and instead of Angostura is beard bitters. So we're going to use 2 dashes of each, which I'm going to say is just 2 healthy dropperfuls. And this is going to give that the bitters and then a little bit of anise from that. Ooh, you can smell the anise come up. It's just like a really nice scent that, again, with all of these other things, is going to just bring a little bit of extra something in the background of the drinks there. Okay, so we have everything built in our glasses. Now we need to grab our ice and do some shaking. So let me grab my ice, and also just going to do some very quick cleanup here because I get stressed out when things are messy. So I'm going to, it's nice there, put that there, all right. And let's grab some ice. What do we have in the chat today? John Riley in the chat, good to see you. John, Peggy Sampson, hello Peggy. Looks like we've got Keith. We've got Ben, hey Ben. Maybe Megan, Tom Kelly, hey Tom. Good to see you all on this lovely Quarantine Tuesday. Coming around back for my ice. And do a quick little clean up there. Now, as we've also often done with our tiki drinks, is we're gonna use mostly crushed ice with a couple of full cubes. In order to get that real agitation from the full cubes, but also just blend together and just do an open pour into our glasses with that crushed ice. So I'm going to start by crushing some ice. That's for one. Bag missed a little bit there. And then grab 4 more cubes for the other. Lovely. See if I can get this pour a little bit more precise than the last one. Nope. Gotta work on my my ice pour, but it's all good. All right, a couple cubes in each. And now let's take our shaker, and it is your favorite time of the night as well as mine. Time to shake. Beautiful. Alright, now this is going to be mostly an open pour. I'm going to reserve the right to do a gated finish at the last second, just in case all the ice isn't going to fit in my glass. And so, let's see how we do. Nice and easy without it. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Alright, let's do number 2. This open, get my other glass. Very nice. And if you need to cheat a little bit, you can throw in another cube just to get the ice level up. Perfect. And now for our garnish, the traditional garnish of this is just going to be a sprig of mint. So I'm going to grab my mint and find the nicest 2 sprigs I can find. That's very nice. And that's very nice. Clean up the bottoms a little bit. And just to liven them up a little bit, you give it the classic smack. And put them right in. And then get our metal straws. And there we have the Tiki Classic, the Zombie. Woo! All right, let's give it a taste. You ready, my man? All right. Oh, yeah. So, I think what's nice about this as a tiki drink is while it has 1 ounce of fruit juice, between the 3/4 ounce of lime juice and a 1/4 ounce of grapefruit juice, it is not like a lot of tiki drinks, sort of like a super fruity drink. This is a boozier, definitely, version of the tiki drink that you think of when you think of a generic tiki drink. Which lives up to its name, right? This is, consume only 2 for your own safety. Take caution. These are gonna put you on your ass. And so it lives up to that, right? It's, you taste the booze in it. This is not a weak man's drink. But you get the spiciness from the cinnamon, from the falernum, from the herbstura. You're getting all of this real spiciness to it. The rums are pretty well balanced with each other, but again, they come through. It's a boozy drink, and it's really quite good. Love it, love it. The Zombie. Having a good day, Mr. Tiki Man? Excellent. Me too. Me too.